Fucking idiots, I thought to myself. It was technically true that I had died first, but at least I had taken their MF support and Yasuo down with me. I had fought valiantly in the pit, but things were not looking good. The game clock read 51 minutes and 40 seconds. To say we were in late game was an understatement. We lost Baron. Soon, the enemy would be destroying our last inhibitor before going on to our Nexus. Their Darius, Warwick, and Ezreal were all insanely fed, and there wasn't much that our team could do about it. Except there was one sneaky thing that I had done. I had left a ward at their base, and I was fed too. I respawned. I teleported to the ward. I sprinted to their Nexus. And with Riven's buffed auto attacks, I slashed as fast as I could, trying desperately to get that backdoor win before their team could stop me. At this point, my hands were clammier than the ocean, and I could feel the kind of eye strain that comes only from being hyper-focused on each and every pixel emitted from my computer's monitor. The game abruptly ended. Victory! I had done it. I outpaced their team by maybe a swing or two. I let out a deep sigh of relief. I must not have been breathing for the last 60 seconds or so. I wiped the beads of sweat from my brow. I wiped those clammy hands on my Corona beer-branded pajamas and permitted myself to blink in what felt like the first time in an eternity. Sure, there was a league, but I was the only legend. No, I was the fucking man. Not that I cared, but it was probably about 11 p.m. at night, and this was probably the 8th or 9th time that I'd had that well-earned feeling that day, and I'd probably lost 3 or 4 other games earlier too. That meant that I'd probably been playing about 11 to 13 hours of League of Legends that day alone. So far, for me, that's a pretty light day of gaming. Still more time to show my dominance on the Rift before repeating the cycle tomorrow. After all, that's what the man would do, right? In my late teens and early 20s, the scene that I just described was a pretty common occurrence for me. Sitting in a stained and tattered hoodie up top, and my staple Corona beer-branded pajamas down below, in my classic lazy dude stoner outfit, I'd play video games on end for essentially days. I would barely get out of my chair to go and get food. But don't be mistaken, that does not mean that I wouldn't eat. I would order pizza directly to my door that would always be the exact same order. A double XL Hawaiian pizza, but replace the tomato sauce for a creamy garlic and then smother that bitch in ranch and barbecue sauce. With all of the condiments on this thing, it was really more of a drink than a food. But look, drink or no drink, it still packed the calories of a small family's recommended weekly intake. And that's before the cinnamon bites that made a cheeky appearance a mere 110% of the time. Yeah, I would often place an order for these cinnamon bites literally hours after killing the pie, and sometimes a second time in that same night, hence the 110%. Now, at that time in my life, I would have described myself as strategic, mechanical, and the team's captain or carry. In fact, I really did use these descriptors because that's what I saw reflected on my computer's monitor. I began to associate who I was as a person with how I pressed buttons in a video game. And I know from the DMs and emails that you guys send me that a lot of you guys have done the same. Now, this pattern went on for years. Playing League, winning some, losing some, and not to mention, on top of it all, developing a habit of always blaming others for my losses. But really, I was wasting my potential when it came to real life. Now, it wouldn't be fair for me to say that during these 3 to 4 years that I was wasting my life, that I didn't grow at all, because I definitely did. And I could see it in the mirror. I grew so fucking much, in fact, that now I was obese. And I never stepped anywhere close to a scale because why would I? It didn't matter who I was or the body that I was in behind the screen. What mattered was my rank, my elo, and the fact that I could do Riven's animation cancels flawlessly. But if I had to guess, I probably weighed about 270 pounds, give or take. And that's at being 6 feet tall and being professionally avoidant of any sort of exercise. In other words, that weight was not made up of any kind of muscle. It was made up of pizza, ranch dressing, creamy garlic, barbecue sauce, and f***ing cinnamon bites. I mean, honestly, this picture will show you. Just look at me. Soon enough, my subconscious would inevitably tell me what I needed to hear. On a warm summer evening, I was sitting in the park on a bench. And that's when I subtly heard the voice inside my head. And it went, "Hey brother, you need to do a little bit better, man. Okay? Like, look, you're gonna be okay, but you need to make some changes. All right? Little by little, pal. Little by little. You got this, stud. Thanks for listening. Go get him, dude." It was the most magic and surreal experience of my life. Well, it would have been. But that's not at f***ing all the way my wake-up call went. You see, video games and shitty pizza weren't all my vices. I had also developed an addiction to smoking weed, which you can learn about by watching this video right here. So that made what I'm about to describe about 100 times worse. Here is the actual intervention that my subconscious gave me. Okay, so my fat ass is sat playing League of Legends. Riven, of course. I'm in my office chair, pimples on my face, 6 inches from the flashing lights on my computer screen. Half-eaten box of ranch, creamy garlic, barbecue, cheese abomination to my left, and my heart starts racing. But this time, it wasn't racing because I was backdooring somebody's Nexus. No, this time, I was having a full-blown panic attack. This time, my subconscious was sending a message so loud that even the words victory across my screen couldn't keep me from having to get off and away from my computer. I stood up, wobbly, disoriented, scared. What the hell was going on? Was I having a heart attack? I suddenly regretted today being one of those days where the cinnamon bites contributed to the over 100% of pizza orders. My chest tightened. It felt like someone had reached inside of my rib cage and grabbed a hold of my heart. It was really uncomfortable. My heartbeat got louder and picked up even more pace. Pretty quickly, I regretted any percentage of the food that I had been eating. And then I regretted everything for the last 4 years. I fell on my bed, weak. I was unwilling to accept what was obviously going to be my early death. Please, God, don't take me. I'll change, I promise, I pleaded to myself in my head. Now, I'm not religious, but it's interesting just how quickly we'll turn to God when we think we're about to die. Regardless, thankfully, he seemed to have heard me. After about 20 minutes or so, I calmed down. I returned to normal-ish. I looked the same, but in my mind, I knew I had to choose a new direction for my life. I couldn't go through that again. Time went by and I struggled to give up my bad habits. But after some serious work and serious talks with myself, I finally did it. Weed was in my past. Regular junk food was in my past. Regular video games were in my past. But when I finally dropped video games, a strange realization came over me. I didn't know who I was or where I wanted to go. For so long, video games had given me direction. They gave me objectives and teammates and fulfillment and metrics by which I clearly won or lost. But now I didn't really have any of these. I knew I had to figure out the new direction in my life, but I was so unused to having to do that. I was used to it being done for me. And as strange as this was, the good news was that without the distraction and addiction that video games were in my life, I was taking the first steps to becoming the man that I am today. I was opening up my potential to truly reveal where I needed to go. I am now the COO of a company that's done $30 million in sales. I now have a multiple 6-figure income, $1 million apartment, a powerful network of friends in high places, a physique that I love, and a mindset of discipline and success. But none of this would have been possible if video games had remained a regular part of my life. See, it's so hard to realize just how dangerous video games are when you play them all the time. You make excuses by telling yourself, this is just how I relax, or this is just how I connect with my friends, or I'm just having fun, right? Well, for me, video games made me feel like the man. And that's why they were so dangerous. I wasn't the man in real life doing real things. I was the virtual man. And his accolades would disappear the second he put the controller down or walked away from the computer monitor. Earlier, I described myself as strategic, mechanical, and the team's leader. And I really did see these traits reflected in my computer screen. Here, though, is how I really was in life and how the mirror reflected me. Lazy, distracted, sedated. But I'm only able to see that now that I'm on the other side. If you're a young man watching this who wants to do big things in his life, I'm urging you to look from the other side. But to do that, you need to get yourself there. And this all starts by bringing real attention to where you currently are. I hope that by me sharing my story today, it will help you start. Now, this story of me sharing my mistakes may help you realize your own. And I know just how valuable that can be. And that's why in about 10 seconds, I'm gonna put up a video that goes over 9 other massive self-improvement mistakes that I made on my own self-improvement journey. This way, you can save the time that I lost on my path. So stick around for that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is your obligation. And so what you can become, you must become.